Hi guys, welcome to the second episode of Ask Wolfie, when old Wolfman tells you his stories about training around the world. I just wrapped up who are the best UFC MMA fighters that I've trained with well over 20 years training MMA. It's like 24 years now, 36 years martial arts, 34 years martial arts, something like that. Today is the best jiu-jitsu guys and grapplers that I have trained with. I want to preface this with I've trained with tons of top fighters, tons of really good MMA grapplers that can hold position and not get submitted. MMA grappling is a little bit different. I also want to say that I've trained with lots of great black belts that helped me develop as a grappler through the years. Some of this is hard to tell because some is as a white belt, a blue belt, a purple belt, a brown belt, a black belt. I have both a black belt in jiu-jitsu and received my black belt from Gokra and Jean LaBelle. Before that, in the highest time grappling system, I'm known as a catch wrestler. So I kind of developed jiu-jitsu and catch wrestling hand in hand since '97. And of course some judo and sambo thrown in. This list will include a lot of famous MMA fighters. It'll include some very famous jiu-jitsu people, maybe get into some funny MMA stories. And going to include some wrestling champions, some very good wrestlers that are MMA fighters, very good wrestlers that stand out to me, and two judo Olympians, gold medalists, as well as some judo, well-known judo practitioners in MMA that have done great throws and things of that nature. So anyway, let me get a sip of water. No disrespect to any black belts or people that I forget. There's tons of great Brazilians. I didn't learn your names, etc. And as well as the great people that I'm training with now. Okay, number one on our list is Dan the Beast Severn. Of course, the first wrestler to dominate in the UFC and show that wrestling was indeed a martial art. Apparently, people forgot to look back at pancration and the first Olympics and hopulate shoulders, showing people on their head spiking them in the ground to paralyze them if they got within spear or sword distance. Dan Severn, 101 and 19 in MMA. I'm just going off Sherdog records, guys. My first famous UFC trainer and really wrestling coach, and he was a three-time Olympic alternate in wrestling, I believe, with over 80 international, national wrestling titles of various kinds, and pro wrestling titles as well. So Dan Severn. Next is BTT's Brazilian top team's Marcelo Grosso. He was one of the first really phenomenal black belts I trained with. These 6 months, he decided to brave the cold in Michigan before saying F this and moving back to Brazil. So my Carlson Gracie roots go very far back. Also, my jiu-jitsu roots are kind of all over, from Gracie's to Machado's to Kaiki to Bravo to Carlson lineage under Bustamante, Scherner, Holman, a bit all over the place. But Marcelo Grosso was old school, get on top. He was doing crazy gooseneck wrist locks, really hard training, old school training. I got the call while I was training in his gym to hurry up, get a call, to hurry up, get home, to get the call back in 1 hour. While I'm sweaty, he had to rush in the car and rush back to get the call that would be coming from Japan again if I wanted a fight against Yuki Kondo that everybody else turned down. I talked about that in the previous video. Number 3 is Shudo A ranker, who worked his way up from amateur, I think CBA to Pro B to Pro A to fighting Gomi for the title, my best friend Ryan Bowe. Ryan Bowe is well known in Japan. I think he has more fights on the list, but Sherdog has him listed at 17 and 9. He ran Nogueira Gym in Dubai for 3 years, head coach, and now he's running Fight Gods, fightgods.net in Seattle, Washington. Go check him out. You won't find someone with more experience, both as a Japanese-style catch wrestling background, really growing up in the Shudo system before it kind of got abandoned. The same system I learned from him, while also learning Shudo at JKD gyms. But now he's also a black belt under the Nogueira brothers. So check out Ryan Bowe. Next up, we got, I just wanted to say shout out to all the Gracies and Machados and Kaiki affiliates I trained with over the years. Obviously, I trained with a lot of great black belts. I can't name them all. Some people I only rolled with once, like Katsuya Toida. I just remember rolling with this little guy in the basement of Jiu-Jitsu KK, is that mysterious... How do I say this without getting a finger chopped off? Gentleman smoking a cigarette in the background. Toida was a super smooth grappler. I think only 1 or 2 rounds with him, and I was like 2 rounds with him, and I was like, this guy is just so smooth. He's got some interesting grappling tag team matches on YouTube you could probably find. So check Toida out. Next up, of course, is the great Kazushi Sakuraba. Saku, 26-17. In MMA, and of course I think he took out 5 Gracies, so earning the right after fighting his protege Sato, who now fights in the UFC for 1 hour without knowing what the hell was going on, got me the right to train with Sakuraba for 2 weeks. You can learn about that in the previous video. Next up is Olympic gold medalist, Judo Olympian Makoto Takimoto, who went 6-5 in MMA in Pride with a decision victory over Mario Bustamante, who's next on the list. Takimoto, I got a funny story. I'm alternating days when I'm there in whatever 2005 or 6 for Pride 19 and training with Sakuraba, and going to TK's old G Square before it moved and was called A Square for whatever reason, I don't know. And Yoshida was there, though I didn't roll with Yoshida. I rolled with his 300-pound friend, kept butterfly sweeping him and arm barring immediately, and Yoshida's just chuckling so much that I'm beating his giant friend, who was like 330, 350 pounds, something like that. Anyway, one of the last rounds I went with Chonan, and I went with a tall kickboxing guy, I forget his name. I went with these guys, and I'm doing really well, because jiu-jitsu positioning now I was pretty good. And the positioning had kind of, they were always good at transitional subs, but the positioning game fell off in Japan by 2005. I wrote about this a bit in Ultimate Athlete or Fighters Only magazine. I think Fighters Only magazine. Anyway, I go around and this guy throws me with Ashibarai. And then we scramble on the ground a bit, and I do get up and get back up, and then I think he almost gets me again, or maybe he gets me again, and it was the last round, and I'm like, huh. Well, anyway, don't know who the guy is. Ryan comes over to me, and Ryan Bowes goes, hey, how was going with Takimoto? Who? How was going with that guy? Well, good. His judo's really good. And I looked at him during the round. I said, oh, judo, your judo's really good. He goes, it should be. He's a gold medalist Olympian. So I didn't know this because he'd only fought in Pride once, and it wasn't on the VHS tape that was sold in America. It was not on that tape. It was cut. So this was before he fought, next up on my list, Mario Bustamante, who my lineage is under. Mario Bustamante, I've only rolled with once, but I have huge respect for this man who always fought a lot of bigger guys, had great boxing, was a UFC champion, tapped out Matt Lindland in the same fight twice. Mario Bustamante went 15-8, a founder of Brazilian Top Team, and old Carlson guy, and yeah, when I rolled with him, also just very, very smooth when I rolled with him. Very smooth when I rolled with him. Next up, another gold medalist Olympian judoka, Satoshi Ishii. These are out of order, guys, because it's 4:30 in the morning, and I can't remember, and I'm sure I'm missing people. But Satoshi Ishii, I rolled with him at Gokars Hayastan Academy in North Hollywood, California. Highly recommend it. A week before he fought Fedor Emelianenko. So, before he fought Fedor, I rolled with him, and, well, I did pretty darn good. I'm not sure what else I should say about that. Though and you can see in his career, he let his judo slip by, and he wears catch wrestling shirts now, but he let his judo kind of slip by, and we didn't hit the mats for about the 10 or 11 minute mark when he finally drove me to a cage, and it was over with quickly after that. But I like watching him fight. If he wasn't so boring, the Japanese have kind of given up on him. But his floating and riding is pretty good. He was looking for a spiral ride hammerlock that I was the first to teach on video in his fight versus Heath Herring twice, which everyone missed, of course. But that's what he was looking for. So, with another, and bigger than me, Olympian gold medalist judoka. Next up on the list, TK's Tsuyoshi Kosaka. I've rolled with TK a few times going back to at his gym in 2005. And then I think when I've trained at his gym later, we've never rolled. But I rolled with him a few times back when I was a blue belt. Respect TK and like training at his gym. So, first guy really using butterfly guard in MMA. And cool fights, I think, with Frank Shamak before he joined his team, or with Tamura. Maybe he was already with Frank. Going back to rings. I don't know. A long time ago. Next up, Jeremy Horn. But Dan, you fought Jeremy Horn. You didn't train with him. Well, that's true and not true. Because a few years later, like 4 years later, when I was training the 14 or 16 months, I trained at MFS, living there, right behind the gym. Jeremy was coming into town. I said, Jeremy, I don't have a lot of money, so instead of paying you for a hour-long private lesson, how about I pay you a half hour to grapple the hell out of me as hard as you can, and we'll go 1.5 hour straight, and half an Ironman match. And that's what we did. And I think telling this story, I think he tapped me 6 times in 30 minutes. Again, I was a blue belt, having trained, I want to say 8 years at that time. But I learned a couple neat techniques that I later taught from that. The double knee ride shin choke and the butterfly backbreaker, which you can also, a funny video down at her with hair trying to show Henzo Gracie. That's pretty funny. You can look up that video. And I did videos on those in like 2009, some of my earliest videos. Anyway, great grappler, Jeremy Horn. Didn't really train with him besides that. Hung out with him once. I helped Ian Freeman. I was a sparring partner pretending to be Vernon White the day before he fought UFC 43. Asked Jeremy if that would be okay, and Ian I was friends with. And so there I was in the room with Jeremy Horn coaching Ian against me while I was pretending, like turtling and going for Kimuras all the time, pretending to be Vernon White. I'm pretty good at pretending to be other people, hence why I was also a sparring partner and I didn't hurt people. Just so many great fighters. We got Chinese food and watched WFA. I sat next to him half the time. Also heard he doesn't like me, but I don't know. Anyway, Jeremy, you shoot USPSA, I shoot USPSA. I'll put my PPQ against your Glock 34. Like, let's make it happen, bro. Next up, Matt Hughes. Told that in the earlier story. One day he finally realized I was tough and just wouldn't give up against him like everyone else would, mentally defeated because he was so strong and amazing, getting Kimura double wrist locks and stuff on everybody. And then Hughes started using me and gave me props and aloud to the whole room, basically calling them pussies and saying I was tough and roll like I did. And became his grappling partner pretty much much after that. Obviously, he's a great grappler. He was 45-9, a great wrestler, but he also has 14 submissions. People overlook that. He learned a lot from Jeremy Horn. And I'm sure Milicic as well. Next up, Jason Black, a name that everyone forgets, who is basically the slightly smaller, slightly less big, awesome wrestler at MFS. Jason Black was 23-4. A quiet guy. Matt Hughes once said something incredibly dicky to me when I was injured, why I was stupid practicing jabs and footwork so I wouldn't get cornered in a cage and throwing high kicks and spinning hook kicks and stuff. It's like, because like I just had pec surgery 10 days ago and I'm training as best as I can, dude, and watching every practice and training at the end of it. Well, Black stood up and bitched him out, and so thank you, Jason Black. Tough guy, IFL days, and doesn't get remembered, and he probably should. He was kind of always in Hughes' shadow, unfortunately. Next up, another great wrestler. Black was a great wrestler. Tried to cobra neck crank me a lot, and I think. Oh, he was also a guy who tried the incredibly dangerous move I've only taught. Like I hid the videos and don't really teach, but then a Chinese guy pulled it off after I unhid it in a video teaching a Malaysian MMA champion the incredibly dangerous neck breaker that I also kind of put out to people hoping it would get in a John Wick movie. So the Dragon Sleeper neck breaker, when you actually hook them with the leg, it's so dangerous. I really don't want people doing that. But Jason Black used to attempt that on me. Okay, next up, Ryan McGivern. Ryan McGivern, great wrestler, had like a 47 resting heart rate or something absolutely ridiculous. IFL guy, great wrestler, cool guy, laid back. We used to I wouldn't drink except Thursday nights. We would go to this bar and get mini pitchers of beer for $1.25. And so I would just walk around with a pitcher. Ryan McGivern. I guess I'll give a shout out to Mike Nonovich, Mike C, who at that very same bar got me laid by noticing I was liking a girl at the bar, and he went up to her and, without telling me, told her I was gay. Well, she got a kick out of thinking she was getting it on with a gay guy, I guess. Anyway, thanks, Mike C, for that. Got into a little funny story. Hey, like it or hate it. Next up, James Lee. James Lee, 15-3. Pretty good early submission guy that I was training with. Was good at leg locks. Now, a lot of times I trained with him was at Warrior Way. He was Mash Fight Club. You now see him cornering tons of fighters in Japan. Best known for his Pride 33 win, guillotine win over Travis View right away. But good grappler, and had kind of that overall submission grappling game back in the day, fighting King of the Cage a lot. And now that you see him cornering a lot, I thought I'd put him on this list. Of course, a lot of our training's been on mats in the back of strip clubs in Detroit and various places. But hey, you train where you can. One of the other dungeon places I went to train at one time, I walk in and people are pulling out guns and shit. I was like, what the fuck, dude? I'm on the hood. It was like 6 mile or 8 mile. It was like 8 miles somewhere in an abandoned, I don't know, James, hope you don't mind me telling this story. Turns out those guys were Detroit cops. I didn't know that though at first, and I'm like, oh my God, am I gonna get plugged? This might become a two-parter, guys. I'm having fun telling some of these stories. I hope you're enjoying it. Next up, Ronnie Yaha. I only rolled with him once. I just decided to go to, so occasionally, even though when I was training in California at other schools like Go-Karts or Legends, 10th Planet, I would go to make sure my regular jiu-jitsu game was on point and go do gi here, gi here, gi here, wherever. I also wanted Yahas and did no gi on some day in Orange County. I don't remember what gym it was. Didn't know who he was, but I knew he was good, and he's so much smaller. I didn't roll with any energy, but he was very smooth, and he started getting me in north-south choke, and I didn't defend right away. I didn't want to bridge hard or anything like that. I wanted to see if he could kind of get and then, no, it's legit. He's getting it with technique, not strength. I'm like, yep, I'll legit tap to that, which is something I do with smaller guys that are that much smaller. So, Ronnie Yaha, me and him laughed about it. I interviewed him after UFC on Fox 4. Next up, Carl Parisian, the Heat, training with him at Kokoshevichin's Highest On Academy, 24-12, 11 submissions. Obviously, Carl is known for throwing people on their heads. His fight versus Nick Diaz, pretty awesome. His fight versus Diego Sanchez, I think, pretty awesome. Also, he was fighting at 16. And next up on the list, Manny Gambirian was fighting grown men at 14 down in Mexico and stuff. I might have those ages flipped, but Carl Parisian, the first guy is really using judo successfully in the UFC. Though he often got rolled through, he didn't stick his landings like Ronda Rousey, a higher level judoka later did. Next up, Manny Gambirian, 15-10, 7 subs. Didn't submit a lot, but great positioning. And didn't sub me a lot, but considering he was a 145 pounder and I was 2 say 18 at the time, 208, 218. I think like 218 when I used to roll with him a lot. Super strong, the strongest small man, grip strength, crazy, would train for hours, and then he'd go up and down the ropes with his legs piked like 6 times. Grip strength, crazy, Manny Gambarian. Guys, I'm going to get to some famous jiu-jitsu names. Make sure you check out part 2 and this becomes a two-parter. Next up is Gokar Shavichian, of course. People don't respect Gokar like they do. Gokar moves as slow as a turtle in his old age. He's just starting to win some competitions and worlds and stuff in the gi jiu-jitsu now, which wasn't necessarily his main forte. But, you know, like I got a video of him reverse knee barring, dog barring Jay Huron. Like he could move slow as heck, and no other man has been able to just so effortlessly and slowly kill me where I can't move and control me whenever he gets on top of me. Now, if I got on top of him, sometimes I'd be okay, but his judo is also crazy good, and just an overall amazing grappler. People don't know. They just don't know. But certainly guys like Ken Shamrock going and Oleg Taktarov going back when they were fighting in the UFC to learn from him, and I believe Dean Lister as well. Stuff that people don't know. Ronda Rousey at age 15. Guys, give Gokar the respect he deserves. Next up, Roger Gracie, 8-2, 6 subs in MMA, 14-time world champion as far as I can tell, 10 at black belt, ADCC 2005 champion. I sparred him mostly, sparring MMA mostly at Black House for 3 months. And he's like 6'4", I'm shy of 5'11". That's one reason I kind of developed using calf kicks before anyone else and put videos out on it before anyone else and wrote articles about calf kicks before anyone else. Roger Gracie once gave me the most succulent nap I've ever had. And he took me down. I think we were sparring Little Gloves, MMA gloves. He took me down off the cage, I think, or caught a leg kick, one or the other. And then I had a scorpion lock half guard on him. And dear, thinking I was safe and could rest for a minute. And dear Roger, I think, switched his head and had an arm to the opposite side and shoved his shoulder in my throat. I believe is what happened. Because quite frankly, I took a magic carpet ride that was amazing. And I don't know how long I was out for. I've only ever gone out when it's been ridiculously hot in the summer, and that probably has something to do with my lupus and blood pressure and stuff. But I took a floaty ride, man, and it was awesome. Huh? Was I out? Yeah, man, I think you were out. Oh, man, that was awesome. It was great. I don't recommend it, guys. It's probably not a healthy thing. But hey, when you're going against one of the best grapplers in the world, this bigger than you, these things happen. Also became a 1 champion and then retired. Next up, Braulio Estima. Only rolled with him once, MMA, and cool guy, very cool. I could tell he was really tired and he wasn't that used to MMA training yet. Like, he was obviously kind of dabbling with the idea. He was there at Black House, but I think he told me he just flew in from England. So keep that in mind. But dude was gassing, because obviously he could roll forever, but we were doing MMA drilling and MMA grappling, scrappling with gloves on. Anyway, I was landing ground and pounding him, and I was like, I got to lighten up and just kind of take it easy on him, because he really couldn't, he really couldn't really deal with it yet in the MMA grappling set, but yet maybe he could, because after about 3 or 4 minutes, and I kind of just taking it easy on him, because I feel bad, I could tell he's gassed as hell. And getting used to MMA, and I respect that. I know this guy's one of the top jiu-jitsu guys in the world. He does his little spin under that he did to that guy with the knee bar. I don't know what you call his spinny breakdancing thing he does. It's not really an invert. I don't know. It's a Braulio Estima thing. And he catches me with an udigarami that maybe I could have gotten of, because the MMA glove, it was kind of tight. It was in a weird angle, and he's kind of like, after he did his breakdance, and I was like, okay, dude, I'm on attack. So who knows in reality, but Braulio Estima, one of the best jiu-jitsu guys I've gone with. He was ADC and world champion. 1-0 in MMA after that. So he did successfully make his MMA debut. Next up, to put on the list because they're big names, Hedi Bravado, I think is his name. Hedi Bravado, something like that. And Joe Hogan, he does this podcast thing. Anyway, I rolled with those guys for 2 years, 2.5 years. And I don't want to say much, but I rolled with Joe for 2 years. I'll start with that. Joe was very, very... You know what? We're going to break this into part 2. If you want to hear what rolling with Eddie Bravado and Mr. Joe Rogan was like, you can watch part 2. Thank you. Please thumbs up. Please subscribe. And I will catch you in the flip side. Watch part 2. Thank you.